Good morning. Welcome back to the Junius Mulpi channel. Thanks for joining us for the discussion. Today we're going to look at several articles regarding gold, as well as some other issues that tie into gold and precious metals. So let's touch on the first one here is the gold bull market is back, September 1st, 2017. And there's a couple of points here in charts that I want to bring up that are in the article. We're not going to read the whole thing of this article, but let's take a look at two of the charts that he puts up. Gold price in U.S. dollars. There you can see it from January of 16 to July of 17, coming into August here. And yes, as you can see, it's been upticking there since January of this year. Here we go in other currencies. Gold price across 5 key currencies: the pound, the dollar, the yuan, the franc, the euro, the yen, up in all of them. So based on gold's performance and how it is reacting to world currencies, the author has stated that, well, gold is back, the bull market for gold. Now let's take that thought and move on, look at some other articles, also talk about silver, and see what's going on. Investors return. U.S. Silver Eagle sales surge over past 2 days. I think people know that silver's about to do something special. According to the updates on the U.S. Mint website, Silver Eagle sales surged by 300,000 on Monday, August 28th, and another 300,000 on Tuesday, August 29th. So we're seeing an increase in demand for U.S. silver bullion. The Mint selling over 600,000 Silver Eagles in 2 days. I believe that there are large investors as well as bullion dealers who are preparing for an increased demand on silver bullion. On the silver price, I have a friend who's, I'm a gold bug. You guys know that. Gold hawk. I'm aching to liking gold. I do like silver, but I just like my gold. I have a friend who's kind of the opposite in a way. He's more of a silver guy. And I got a lot of you out there that are part of this channel that are big-time silver people as well. And that's awesome. It's nice that we all form one big precious metals loving community. Now this friend of mine reads a lot of different information and kind of dives into the silver world a whole lot deeper than I do. And he is convinced that, well, we're going to see gold go up. He knows that, and he talks about that. And he also holds gold, but he's convinced we're going to see $600 silver in a short time. Not this year necessarily, but I don't have an exact date. He never has an exact date. He believes $600 silver is coming, that he's going to see it, and that's why he holds as much as he does. I hope he's right. I do. Swinging back to the AU, 4 reasons why gold has entered a new bull market from Schroders. Gold has entered into a new bull market, as we have discussed previously. There are 4 main reasons for our stance. Number 1, global interest rates need to stay negative. Number 2, broad equity valuations are extremely high, and complacency stalks financial markets. Number 3, the dollar might be entering a bear market. And number 4, Chinese demand for gold has the potential to surge. Indeed, investment demand in China for bar and coin already increased over 30% in the first quarter of 2017, according to the World Gold Council. Gold is winning new fans by Ranjitha Pakyam, August 30th, 2017. Given the fact that inflation should remain relatively low, we do not expect the Fed to be capable of doing much more than one hike in 2018, Geneva-based Loyet said in an interview this week. Quote, the dollar should be penalized next year by the weaker growth outlook and by the less active Fed. So we would expect the dollar to gradually weaken, and that should support gold, unquote. Many of you are familiar with Mr. Jim Rickards and some of his outlandish calls for gold performance prices and claims of what might take place in the future. So we'll take this article with a little bit, just a tiny bit, maybe half a grain of salt. It won't be a parabolic rise, but $10,000 gold is coming. And I saw these articles come out the other day, and I debated whether or not to really report on them. They are making a little bit more circulation now, and I figured, you know what, even though he's a controversial subject, some of you don't appreciate Mr. Rickard's opinion. I'm kind of on the fence about it. Sometimes I like what he has to say. Other times I question his motives, kind of his background, where he comes from. Is this guy a puppet? Is he a stooge? I can't vouch for him 100%. But let's just kind of look at the information he's presenting and see what we think about it. Gold reset to $10,000 per ounce coming, quote, by January 1st, 2018. I tend to disagree with that. If that occurs, I think there's going to be a lot of different issues we will have to grapple with in the very near future. Trump could be planning a radical reboot of the U.S. dollar. Currency reboot will see leading nations devalue their currencies against gold. New gold price would be nearly 8 times higher at $10,000 per ounce. Price based on mass exit of foreign governments and investors from the U.S. dollar. U.S. total debt now over 80 trillion, 20 trillion national debt, and 60 trillion consumer debt. Monetary reboot or currency devaluation seen frequently, even modern history. Buy gold eagles, silver eagles, including monster boxes and gold bars, have a 10% allocation to gold, smaller allocation to silver. A lot of claims there. It's a pretty big thing to state. January 1, he's got a date tied to this. Thinks there's going to be some reboot with the world economy. Of course, there's a lot of things bouncing around the news. We're seeing different things take place with metals, with currencies. Let's pretend for a moment even a fraction of what he says comes true. Or let's just pretend that, let's pretend that gold performs 25% of what he's saying up there. And maybe it just hits, what if it just hit $2,500 an ounce and the currencies performed accordingly? Could that happen? Could gold breach 2,000? Even if it just hit 2,000, I think there would be a lot of news reporting on it and probably an increased perk demand. And, well, it's something to consider, and we will keep our eye on it, Mr. Rickards. He also goes as far as to specify what he recommends your allocation into metals would be for certain amounts of investable assets. For example, if you have $10,000, he says you should buy 1 American Gold Eagle. I'm a little more extreme. If I have $10,000, I'm going to buy 8 or 9 American Gold Eagles. For $100,000, he says buy 10 and then buy 100 American Silver Eagles. And you can see there, if you have $10 million, he says buy 10 gold bullion bars and buy 300 American Gold Eagles and 10 monster boxes. So if any of you are recent lottery winners or just happen to be a little bit more wealthy than the average person, here's a little chart for you on where you might want to put some of your metals if you believe what Jim Rickards has to say. And the last bit of information that we'll take out of this article, there were more statements than this, but this is the one I chose to include here. Source Jim Rickards via Agora. In fact, the Government Accountability Office just reported this year that the U.S. is at risk of fiscal failure. And Harvard economics professor Kenneth Rogoff says, quote, "There's no question that the most significant vulnerability is the soaring government debt. It's very likely that will trigger the next crisis as governments have been stretched so wide," unquote. And Investors Business Daily reports that, quote, "current total debt at roughly 105% of GDP is already in the danger zone. And based on historical economic studies, this is where nasty things can happen," unquote. All of this is the result of too much debt, too many Obama policies, and too much meddling by the Federal Reserve. But what happens when there is too much debt? The dollar is still relatively strong, so does it matter? Yes, says Rickards. Many countries are relentlessly abandoning the dollar. In the past, we've discussed how oftentimes people believe that somehow the West, specifically America, is immune to certain economic principles and realities, and that certain things can never happen and won't happen here. We've also tied that into the normalcy bias because we've never experienced something, we believe it cannot happen. Well, here's a list of 21 countries that have experienced hyperinflation in the last 25 years. So in my lifetime, in many of your lifetimes, just in 25 years, here's a list of 21 countries that have experienced hyperinflation and all of the horrors that go with that. Let's take a look. Now, hyperinflation is not an unusual phenomenon. 32 countries have experienced hyperinflation in the last 100 years, of which no less than 21 have experienced it in the last 25 years and 3 in the past 10 years. The United States is one of the few countries to have experienced 2 currency collapses during its history, 1812 to 1814 and 1861 to 1865. Is it about to happen again? Hyperinflation has occurred in 21 countries in the last 25 years. Here is the list. If you wish to pause and read the details below each country, feel free to do so. But here we have 1 through 4. We have Angola, Argentina, Belarus, Bolivia. Now we have Brazil, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Ecuador, Georgia, Madagascar, Mexico, Nicaragua, Peru, Poland, Romania, Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, Yugoslavia, Zaire, and Zimbabwe. Final discussion in closing, visualizing the real value of the minimum wage. This is coming to us from the visual capitalist, Jeff Desjardins. Now, I do not believe in governments or statists in setting a minimum wage and forcing an employer to pay his employees, which is a mutually agreed upon arrangement between 2 free individuals. I don't believe in the statists having the right to tell the business owner what he needs to pay the employee. That can be figured out between them and the free market. We've seen some negative articles come out on already the negative effects the new minimum wage laws have had over in Seattle. A lot of information coming out on that, on how people were laid off. There's now an increase in some of the unemployment due to that, and the negative effects on the economy as a whole there. Here you can see that the nominal minimum wage versus the real minimum wage, inflation adjusted, and you can see that there's been a 33% total decrease from 79 to 95 and a 0% net growth since 2000. What we're going to get to here is comparing the minimum wage, what it is now, to what it was when it was comprised of silver. Further, in real terms, the minimum wage peaked in value in 1968, just before Nixon severed the connection between the dollar and gold. In the inflationary years that followed, the real minimum wage eventually dropped to $6.77, a staggering 41% decrease. The real wage has basically hovered between $6.50 and $8 ever since. So next time you're having a conversation with somebody regarding the minimum wage, I'd like you to pull out 5 pre-64 quarters. If you have 5 pre-64 quarters, demonstrate that this was once the minimum wage, $1.25. Now, these are 90% silver and 10% copper, and their silver melt value is $15.50 today. Then take out $7.25. Take out $7 in paper. That's a nice, clear example of how worthless the currency is. And then take a new quarter out that's just cupro-clad nickel, garbage, junk metal, shrapnel. Now show them that this is just $7.25. So put them side by side, the 5 pre-64 quarters that hold $15.50 in silver, that can buy over 5 gallons of gasoline, and then show them the $7.25, and discuss the purchasing power of both piles of coin and bill. Demonstrate that if you were to sell these 5 quarters for their true silver content value, and you got the $15.50, what you could buy with that, as opposed to the $7.25. This is further proof that inflationary measures hurt even the people at the lowest rungs of the economic ladder and take away from those on fixed incomes, those that are more tied to dependency upon government programs, Social Security, minimum wage, and so on. Okay, that's going to be the end of today's discussions. Hopefully you guys got something out of it, something worth liking and sharing. If you can, go ahead and leave a comment down below, join the discussion. And as always, I appreciate your time and energy spent being here and part of this channel. And as always, your ongoing support and motivation for keeping the Junior Small P channel alive and well. Thank you.